Hello all, it's Andy. Just me. Joe's away, still in Spain, sunning himself, getting a brown one, and Lee's off around the country somewhere, not exactly sure, but unavailable this week. This episode of the podcast is dedicated to our Sunday drive that we took a week or so ago. We drove each other's cars to see what we thought of them. Pretty interesting. Hope you enjoy it. Bit of housekeeping before we start that. Did you know the podcast is now 7 months old? Can you believe that? Been going 7 months, 25 episodes, and we've had 16,000 downloads. We're really pleased with how that's going. We've also delighted to say that we've got our first Patreon member. Guy's name is Toby Dyer. He drives a 993C2 in the amazing colour Riviera Blue. Lots of car history, he tells me. Looking forward to putting together an Instagram post with his story and some pictures of all of his cars that he's had over the years. So if you become a Patreon member, we'll definitely do that for new members. Do you know about Patreon? If you don't, let me enlighten you. We've set it up so that there's 3 levels of membership. They're just sort of funding memberships at the moment, so you don't get anything back other than your daily dose of podcasts from ourselves. We've set it up so that you could donate £2. We're saying that's equivalent to a takeaway coffee, £5 equivalent of a beer, or £10 which is equivalent of a takeaway pizza a month. So think, would you be happy to donate one of those to the running of the podcast and sacrifice a coffee, a beer, or a takeaway pizza to help us fund the podcast each month? Okay, so over to our Sunday morning drive in each other's cars. You can also see more on Lee's YouTube channel, That 911 Guy. He's put together a couple of episodes of showing us driving each other's cars and also what we thought of each other's cars. That can be found on That 911 Guy. We have also started a Road to Redline YouTube channel. This has all of the episodes that we've recorded so far, plus a couple of bonus pieces. So there's video of the Taycan test drive, and there's also video of the whole episode with Magnus Walker, which is pretty good actually, because he did quite a bit of walking around in his workshop, showing us different cars. So well worth a look, even if you've listened to the podcast already. So without further ado, I shall play the Sunday morning drive out in each other's cars. I hope you enjoy it.
Are we recording?
We're on, recording.
We're on.
Well, morning chaps. It's an interesting little drive out, wasn't it?
It was. Really good. So
bit damp, but good.
It's a bit different because we usually record these podcasts in an evening, but it's a fresh Sunday morning.
Yeah.
And we've just been for a drive in each other's cars.
Check that out.
Very good.
What did we think?
Where should we start?
Where do we start? Yeah. Can we start with Andy's rear tyres or lack of?
Oh, Jesus. So he didn't. He said to me they were a little bit on the low side. Obviously, I jumped in first. No, piss off. Sorry. You tucked me right up. First
it was
corner,
fun.
bit of boot. The bloody thing went sideways.
It's fun though, isn't it?
There isn't any tyres.
I said to the camera while we were driving along, it's a bit conspiratorial because we're driving a rear-engined, rear-wheel drive 911 with no driver aids in the shitting it down rain.
With absolutely no tyres.
With zero grip. Yeah, exactly.
They're just legal.
That's not legal. Piss off. There is nothing legal about your tyres. Absolutely nothing.
To be honest, I'm quite glad that we've found something. A bit of a ringer with his cars because he is Mr. Fastidious.
Well,
absolutely everything with your
car.
car.
I've got an excuse.
What's that?
I've been
what excuse?
faffing, haven't I, about what wheels to change to, and I've been like,
I reckon the problem is you've spent so much time playing around with your lift.
Yeah.
You've forgotten about the thing you put on the lift, which is the car, and changing the bloody tyres.
You must have seen those tyres like up close and personal 20 times, putting your car up and down.
And that's why I warned you this morning.
Yeah,
that wasn't a warning.
If if we've got any lawyers listening, the limit is, what is it, 1.6 mil?
Yeah,
is
there's
that the
plenty
legal
on there.
limit?
There's 2 mil on there.
I'd say there's 1.61 mil
Okay, all
left
right,
on
all right.
that. But
Yeah. I'm not even going to say there's that on there.
They're ready
Yeah.
to change.
I reckon you were going to get pulled on the way home, and that'll be the end of that.
isn't it weird seeing your own car being driven?
It is by
Yeah.
someone else.
Yeah.
Yeah, I saw smiling faces in mine.
Did you?
Yeah, especially
wasn't-
when you were going sideways.
That wasn't smiling. That was a look of panic. That was shit. I've been in it 2 minutes. And about to go into that tree.
Was it really that bad?
Well, it just properly lit up and went
Well,
a little bit.
The tyres on
squeaky.
the Cayman aren't much different. They might
No,
have,
they
they might have tread, but
I think it's because
they
they're
haven't got much
semi-slick
grip.
jobbies and it's pissing
yeah.
it
I
down.
mean, they're loosely designed to be like that. Yours are just
yeah, they're
neglect.
just neglect. All right, I'll take that.
So
Where should we start then?
well, I want to start with your exhaust, right? Because
Yeah.
it sounds sweet. I want to know if, to you, where we were saying about this weird following each other's cars, does it sound different following it, if that makes sense? Because you just hear the
You must have heard
sound,
it.
you know?
And you can hear it
Yeah.
like the other side of the bloody
Well,
town.
I couldn't hear it much over the Cayman.
Really?
Did I? I didn't. I'm not sure I was near enough in the 996, but I did hear you going along the bypass. And
I
you-
did try and keep flicking down the gears
Yeah.
and then just to give
Yeah.
you a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I personally, I want to change the I don't like the separate banks. So I've got decap pipes on there.
Yeah.
So basically, it's 2 separate exhaust systems, one for each bank,
Mm-hmm.
and I don't like that sound. I'm
want
not
it to
that
run into each other?
enamoured with it. Yeah,
Okay.
I want it to be a collected sound rather than.
Isn't that quintessential 911 sound?
I don't know what when it's collected together. I don't know.
No, how you have it now, how it's collected together, that's the system on the new like 991 stuff. That's why
Yeah.
the 991s kind of sound so different to the older stuff. So you essentially want a new 911 noise rather than an old one.
No,
Oh, okay.
because the cat
Yeah.
normally collects them together,
Yeah.
where mine is not at the moment. So it sounds almost like 2-3 cylinders.
So you are going to change that then?
I'd like to, yeah. Soul Performance do a cat replacement that's got a cross pipe area on it. So I would like to do that, but I think it's fairly expensive. Maybe I should tap them up.
Isn't it funny? He knows all this, but he doesn't know what he's running on the rear of his tyres.
That's true, isn't it?
Yeah.
I'm not going to stop harping on about those tyres because it definitely had a little moment.
It's just nice to find something because this is a guy who's got like an absolute dossier of every car he's ever owned, what
Yeah.
he's done to it, how much he sold it for. And
Even that car was researched for an inch of its life afterwards. Didn't you get the full history of who had it, when, where, and why?
Yeah, I know everything about it.
I
Yeah, and I
have
know
to
the tyres
say-
are fucked, and I told you. So just shut up.
well, other than that, I have to say I was kind of looking for howler points on both cars, but I couldn't find any. And
Yeah,
I'm
it's
really
hard,
gutted
isn't it?
about that.
Well,
yeah.
not on the Cayman.
No.
Really?
No, yeah.
Even I was driving along thinking, oh my God, the list. I thought you'd be harping on about the Cayman now. Shite it is in various degrees.
No,
No,
loved it.
felt
Absolutely
race
loved it.
car, so race car.
Oh.
As soon as I'd forgotten that how. Well, I don't know if I'd actually looked inside and seen how race car setup it is.
Yeah, it's a
and
little
then
bit.
once I got in and I couldn't move because my hip started hurting, and trying to get out of it later on, I was just stuck in there. But yeah, that's
hilarious.
pretty hardcore.
Have you driven a Cayman before? Because I was wondering this,
I've
driving
not
along.
driven a Cayman before, no.
Ah.
So I'd like to drive a standard Cayman,
a
see how
roadie one.
because I think it would be very different.
Yeah.
The feel of it. That felt very. You're in, down.
They are quite like that anyway.
Are
I mean, that one obviously exaggerates, I think,
Yeah.
everything a Cayman gives you normally. So what was your... I mean, let's jump over to it then. So what was your first impression of Cayman life? Well, the long
It was
pause
all-
can't be good,
yeah,
can it?
no, it was all race car.
positive
It
spin.
just felt like a race car. That does. But what does a Cayman feel like?
Obviously, the engine's in the wrong/right place.
Yeah. It just felt good. I liked it. I
Okay,
liked it. Yeah.
good.
Yeah. But it wouldn't be my only Porsche.
Yeah.
No, it
Yeah.
didn't feel slightly claustrophobic or anything, do you think?
No. No? Did you feel that way then?
Yeah, I do. It's
Do you?
Which, is kind of, some would argue it's a sports car food. Think of like a Lotus and things like that.
Yeah.
You just, you become
just
a
feel
part
a
of the
bit
car,
small
don't
and-
you? But I think the Cayman is a fantastic little sports car. It really is.
Stop there. Done.
Very good. But
But
Here it comes.
I wouldn't mind going around Europe in one. That's the issue.
Oh, hold on, back up a second. You wouldn't want to go around Europe in that one?
No,
or
not in that one.
A Cayman period.
A Cayman period. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I find just a little bit too small for things like that. I know there's extra like luggage room and stuff.
Yeah.
But
just to fit your ego
just
in.
A little bit too small, and exactly that. Bring the trailer. But it's a little bit too small, and I mean, obviously you've changed the suspension on this, but Cayman's generally, I just think a 911 soaks up general lumps and bumps a little bit better. I think
I was pretty impressed with the suspension on that. I thought it rode pretty well. It's going over speed bumps and stuff, and it was like no clanging and banging. It was felt good.
Would you drive to the factory in that car now?
Not in that one.
Right.
In a standard one, yeah.
In a standard.
It's just way too noisy. I mean, I was going along at 60 miles an hour, and your ears are almost bleeding. And like my car's noisy.
Yeah, that's quite drony because I think because we pull the sound deadening or the foam out of it, it's a little bit like being inside a drum. Yeah. So I think I get that totally on distance.
But what is nice is you can hear all like the stones like flicking up everywhere because the tyre's so sticky anyway. Yeah, it just kind of adds your engagement with the car. You know?
Yeah, good. I'm glad you got that bit of it.
Yeah, it's well set up for the track. I'd love to have a go on the track.
Yeah.
Wow, next track day, come along.
All right.
Deal for hire.
Road to the track. Here we go.
Yeah, good work.
We have said on the podcast before, but I think after we've all had a go driving the car today, we've seen the example of the fact that really exemplifies for 20 grand car plus modifications. You can have just like a phenomenal.
That's probably 20 grand with mods.
Car. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so all in, and you know, as we've testified on track days before, kept much more superior Porsche metal. Very honest. You know?
Actually, I'll tell you what, it's a bloody good comparison, isn't it? Because when you think, if you find I'm not saying, well, no, I'm going to say it was. If you find yourself a ropey 996, and a high mile / ropey, Cayman, and you spend, like you said, somewhere between 5 and 10 grand on it, sub 20 grand, you're into a seriously good bit of kit.
Yeah.
I think both those cars are exactly that. Obviously, they provide two different things, but budget-wise, they both, good examples of that sort of level.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They are easier to drive as well, like just Cayman V9 in comparison, which is not a good or a bad thing. Like it's just different, isn't it? You know,
gearing. Sorry to interrupt you there. Gearing so long, I felt.
Oh, okay, interesting.
So like 75 miles an hour, and I was in third. Yeah. I was like, oh shit, there's another 3 to go. Like, where my 993's got the early. Can't remember what gearbox it is, but that's very short geared.
I felt like first and second was short in yours, and then third went on for quite a long time.
Oh, really?
But I certainly it's like first and second. So it was like it like shot off, and then you could bumble around in third, and you had loads of torque, so you could kind of you could sit in third for most of what we did, and it sounded great and worked well.
I did say on camera while I was in the car, isn't the flat six a wonderful engine in that it sounds good at 1,000 RPM or 7,000 RPM. There's no bad area. It just sings all the way through. It's lovely.
That's true, isn't it?
Yeah. I feel like the Cayman's like built for corners, if you like, because you can tell it's like a detuned 911 engine. It's got the sound, it's got the throttle response, but just that early part of the tacho to like 3k, that's where it's really kind of lacking. So you keep the revs high, sew the corners together, and I think that's where the Cayman exemplifies itself. It's in its chassis, you know.
Yeah, that was. Yeah.
Did either of you hit the anchors at all? Like, what do you reckon on the old braking front? I suppose because what we did today, you probably didn't do it that much.
No, it was pretty wet when I was driving it.
Because that is the one thing that, we changed on that car, and it was just absolutely transformative of the whole car.
So what have you got on there?
So that's running. So it's a solid disc, solid groove discs. With it's a very track focused pad. It's RS29.
Squealy.
Yeah, so you do get a bit of squeal, but Christ, they are phenomenal. I mean, it was amazing. Couldn't believe the difference of just changing that brake setup. Standard on the rears, and that front setup was like, wow.
Really?
So still standard pistons?
Standard pistons, standard calipers. It literally is just,
calipers, pistons.
Yeah. Pads, discs, and some braided lines, and that was just phenomenal. Yeah, couldn't rate that enough.
Is that the bracket for the shifter? Is that custom? Because that's raised up quite high.
Yeah, so I think it's about 4 inches. It literally is just a riser box really that we just pop some holes in to make it look pretty. But just bring it up. I think it's about 4 inches, and it just that distance from wheel to shifter.
That's
trying
good.
to close down.
It's proper race car. That's lovely.
The steering wheel's so close to your chest. I love that.
The dish on the wheel brings it really close in, and it's weird if you get into a standard one, the shifter feels miles away. If you imagine it being 4 or 5 inches lower and further away from you and further away from the wheel,
and the steering wheel's all the way forward.
So kind of we're trying to get, like you said, it's that race car type feel.
The only thing is trying to get in and out of it.
Yeah,
I had to do the old man, move the seat back to get out.
And it's got the little short shift on it as well, so you get that clickiness in the box, which is quite
Has yours
nice.
got short shift on it?
It has.
Yeah,
Factory
I thought
short
so.
shift.
Yeah,
That's
quite
one-
short actually, isn't it?
It reduces the throw by 30%, I think, but it's definitely enough. Yeah, without a doubt. The only issue with it, which I don't think you guys got to experience, is when it's cold, it can be a bit of a bastard to change.
Yeah,
the gear.
I had that a little bit
did
when I
get a
first
crunch.
got in it.
Really, yeah.
Yeah, I did. I think I might have mentioned on the camera. The thing I found with the 993 that was interesting was obviously I'm guessing no short shift.
No,
And
no
it's
short shift on that yet.
The distance
It's
you've
huge.
got to go
isn't it?
to shift is miles.
Yeah.
It was like all the way over there
Yeah.
and all the way back here.
I've got one sat in the garage
Yeah.
ready to go in.
Yeah, from one postcode to another.
Yeah,
first to second.
definitely.
It was.
Yeah,
And then
proper
that's-
pudding stirrer.
It's funny how you forget those things and you get in a car and you're just like, bloody hell, it's
That's a
miles
long way.
away.
Yeah. I'll tell you what, moving on to the 993 and in particular the comparison 993 to 996, how well built the 993
Oh,
is
solid.
over its successor. You can just
Unbelievable, isn't
tell,
it?
can't
Yeah.
you? You know, proper.
There's not a squeak or a rattle in that car, is there?
No, kind of
When I
gutted.
was in
that.
yours, it was
How
like.
many did you find?
Well, I compared it to an old Volkswagen Caddy pickup truck that we had, and that was literally falling apart. So, sorry, Lee, but we need to spend some time on your car. We need to take a few bits apart and put it back together again.
I spent most of my time on camera complaining about this. Or it sounded like you got a box of mice in the back,
Yeah,
absolutely.
yeah.
and they sort of move around the car a little bit.
I've managed to find the offending part, or one of the offending parts.
Yeah, there's
When-
more than one.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
can tell you.
You've got
that.
a few on there, definitely.
When the coilovers were put on and the interior was put back together, I don't actually know what the part's called, but at the base of the windscreen that runs across it, it's loose. When you push it in, because even on idle, it's sitting there
It's
kind of
rattling.
going away. I'm just pushing parts and panels and just seeing when the squeaking stops. But it's the back bit. But yeah, you're right. I think it needs coming apart. And put it back together
needs some
again.
attention.
More glue. Yeah.
Yeah.
But back to the 993, like I was saying, that just feels so like much better put together, and you can tell it's like a hand built car. Like you know.
Did that come with lots of bangs and rattles that you've sorted out, or did
No,
it
that's the way it came.
came out the box? Like
It was
that?
a well looked after car, but
Yeah,
I think
nice.
built well at the beginning anyway.
It's really
Without a
solid.
doubt.
Yeah.
Without a doubt. It's
It felt nice on the road actually. I thought it was very smooth.
Yeah.
It
Considering how far it's lowered, which is just on some God knows what springs. And,
didn't
and
get anything from that.
don't know what the shocks are.
really.
Got no idea what.
I thought it
those-
sort of wafted along quite nicely. It sort of
Yeah.
it had a real, that's
Yeah.
why it sort of.
I think
You could do some distance in that car.
Yeah, and there's a nice connection to the road. Like I said, I've no idea what lowering springs are on there. Or
No,
anything, but
they're just rusty and shit.
right. Oh,
So,
yeah, okay. I think
yeah,
it
I
needs
was-
a Geo, that car, to be honest.
Needs a Geo. Oh yeah, definitely.
Yeah, but
yeah.
that's like I say, it you
And some
just
new
feel,
tyres.
feel part of the road. Yeah, definitely. Of course, it's going to be expensive winter for you, isn't it? A whole new 993 chassis. Oh dear.
Yeah, lots coming.
Good job you got that bloody lift.
Yeah.
Your seats as well. What
Yeah.
have you done to them? Because they're not factory sports seats, but they've got more lateral hold.
So they were comfort seats.
Yeah.
I didn't get it done. It was the previous owner.
Okay.
And they converted to sports seats. So they're the early, what would be an early sports seat, non-hardback.
Yeah.
So they built the subframes and then put they got new foams for them.
Yeah.
And then retrimmed, and they were done at Southbound Trimmers
Okay.
Nice.
with the contrasting stitching.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What a lovely hold.
They sit well, don't they?
Really,
Yeah.
really
Yeah.
nice.
Yeah.
Really nice.
I think you do. I think there's some movement in your seat runners
Yes.
because I don't know if you got a bit of bum movement when you sort of were taking off
No.
or stopping.
No.
But I definitely sort of
There's a
bit
little bit.
there's something in there
Yeah.
that needs tweaking. But being critical now.
Yeah.
He's just
no, that's
getting a
fine.
massive to-do list
Yeah.
on this car. He's
Keep
gonna-
it coming.
Um,
Like
what-
a tinker.
I was also going to mention, obviously, left-hand drive, which
Yeah.
we all kept forgetting, didn't we?
Yeah.
With a
Did
car
you
to
actually?
car.
You did get in the wrong
We all
side,
did
didn't
it.
you?
I think we all did it.
I think, the comedic effect more than anything.
Oh,
Reminded
did
me
you?
to being stupid on air. But, I think, being in a left hooker reminded me of like the difference in like seating position and the pedal offset compared to right.
Yeah.
It's all
Sit a
it's
little
all
bit more-
aligned.
Yeah, well, is it?
Yeah.
I felt I was sitting a little bit more kind of pointing into the middle in
No,
the
no.
car.
Well, you'll find that everything's sat in a line.
Yeah,
Where on the right-hand drive car, it's all a bit offset.
right.
Interesting.
Yeah, see, I have heard that, but I kind of felt the opposite.
You felt the opposite.
A couple of times I looked in my rearview mirror and I don't know if you forgot, Lee, that you were in a left hooker a few times and you were sort of
Looking out the
well
passenger
over the
window.
road and I was a bit like, Do you know where you are on the road?
Well, this is the thing. When you're, and you'll know in a 912 as well, which is a left hooker, it's really difficult for overtaking because you're stuck in the gutter. You can't see.
Yeah.
So that's why I didn't overtake at all, because I thought I'd just, by the time you're kind of edging to pull out and see, then you've got a bloody Scania or whatever it's coming in ready to flatten you into next week. So.
Oh, you kind of use the curve of the road to overtake. That's what I always do.
I think you've only got to hang back a car length or so.
Yeah.
And you get
just
enough.
give yourself a bit more space.
And you got to remember, it's a small car. I think that's the thing. It's a bit like the 912. It's small enough where actually, even on a left hooker, you can be quite over to one side in your lane, and you don't need a lot of distance to see well past.
Yeah.
But I appreciate when it's new to you, it's not. That does come pretty quick. I think. Yeah. A bigger left-hand drive car, I think, would be much harder.
Yeah. I think it's great because you two are bastions of left-hand drive cars in the UK. I mean, there are cars, say like even GT cars, left-hand drive. They don't have quite the premium of right-hand drives. Yeah. Maybe some people are put off by left-hand drive.
Lots of
you guys are obviously fine with it,
Yeah, it doesn't cause any issues.
I was looking last week at Gen 1 GT3s, and there's a left-hand drive one that's about 10 grand behind the right-hand drive equivalent, and was sort of trying to weigh up whether that was a good purchase or not.
Yeah,
just
and that wouldn't be an issue for you, would it?
Wouldn't bother me. I mean, I think obviously it'd make a great Euro car to have to do some trips in as well, but wouldn't bother me on the road.
Yeah,
and I see it as opening up the market for selling it on.
I think potentially. I think if you're happy to ship it into the continent, then great. I think over here there's not that many people that will just jump at it, so it is a limited market to sell it here, which is
well, you need a passenger if you're going for a drive-through or a car park, don't you, to get the ticket.
Not really. You can reach across, can't you? So narrow.
True, yeah, but if
yours you could. I don't know, if you went 991 you might be you might need a passenger.
Yeah.
But then, it's probably quite easy to get a passenger in a GT3 these days, I'd imagine.
So any other negatives, anything else that I need to fix on it this winter?
Unfortunately not, mate, to be honest with you. Other than a whole new chassis. I'm joking.
It actually feels all right on those, doesn't it? It's like, should I change it? But
I like it.
I really liked it. I actually thought it was really nice.
Yeah.
Just as to jump in and go, it was just like, this is nice. I like that. It was good. Should we move on to the Green Monster?
Yeah, the rattle box.
The rattle box.
Gosh, get the rattle box.
Come on then. First thoughts on your 996 then. Have you been in 996? Have you driven a 996 before?
I have, many years ago.
Okay.
It was a track day kind of supercar thing.
Yep.
What was it? Buntingthorpe, somewhere like that.
Was that turbo then?
No, it wasn't. It was. This would have been about 2005. Mm-hmm. And it was like Ferraris, Lamborghinis, all that sort of stuff. And there was a 996 that was the token kind of cheap car in amongst everything else, I think. But funnily enough, I really enjoyed it. It was a Tiptronic, and it was just a Carrera 2, but Tiptronic standard. And I drove that, and I'd driven a Michelaro 355, Aston Vantage. I can't remember what else there was there, but I felt from that was probably my first Porsche experience. But I was like, this is the right brand for me. It feels like a driver's car, where everything else felt a bit showy and just like lots of noise and no go. Well, there's plenty of go, but the 996 felt good. So it's not the first I've driven. I don't know if that one rattled as much as yours.
I don't think any of them rattled quite as much as yours right now.
I knew I should have got that fixed before today.
So what do you think of this 996? Rattles excluded, what was your first impression?
Engine revs up nice and freely, doesn't it? Really nice. Sounds lovely. I quite like the sound of it. I know you want a little bit more noise.
Especially next to yours. You can hear yours over mine, even if you're half a mile ahead.
It's a bit Asbo, isn't it, mine? I liked suspension-wise. I think you've done a great job.
I think yours rides brilliantly now.
Yeah. Felt maybe a little bit bouncy at the back, whether it needs a bit more.
Okay, yeah.
Bit more turned on.
May well do. It's still on its factory settings.
Yeah.
So may well do, yeah.
But that KW suspension felt good. Really good.
Are you interested in putting KWs on your 993? So that's a pretty good little test then.
Yeah. So what else? Steering felt nice.
Turns in well, I think.
Shift.
Yeah.
I think it's where there's a few little twisty bits. It sort of it went where you pointed it, which was nice.
I did nice. I think you must have seen that overtake I did. There was a van and a car, and that felt lovely.
Coming out of Abbotsbury.
Yeah. Felt really
It feels
good.
like it's got quite a lot of go. You know, for what's an early, fairly base model type setup, essentially, and from a power department, I think it feels like you don't need much more than that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Definitely doesn't feel underpowered at all.
It's what I've tried to say before on the videos on this channel is that it's just a good kind of power to weight mix. 1,320 kilos, 300 horsepower. For me, that's kind of, for a road car, that's a sweet spot. You don't need any more.
Yeah.
And again, as I think we said on a previous podcast, we're all sort of knocking around that similar sort of power to weight, you know, which is
No, sits really well.
which is key. But you can definitely tell when getting into the 996 from the 993 that the company just had no money, just in terms of like the finesse, the finer touches of like how the interior is screwed
I think
together.
that was definitely it was governed by accountants rather than engineers.
Yeah,
Yeah.
without a
I
doubt.
think that's definitely the feel.
Yeah.
But I'll tell you what, I think a little bit of attention on the inside, a bit of interior work, maybe some different seats, like you said, maybe change the wheel. You can make that a lovely, lovely place to be inside.
Yeah.
And then you've got a really fully sorted car, haven't you?
Mm. Yeah, no, to be honest, I feel like I've got away with that one. That's I'm quite happy with that, yeah. So
Just a few rattles. That was the only thing that I didn't like. The rattles.
Okay, that is encouraging because Joe's driven my 996 a couple of times. So I sort of roughly knew what to expect from you, Joe, in terms of opinion. But Andy, I was really interested to see how you would be as a 993 owner. I mean, there's probably make more of it than what is actually kind of apparent, but maybe snobbery, dare I say it, between 993 towards 996 owners generally, not saying yourself.
Yeah, I think generally it's a big deal, isn't it?
Yeah. So if you're able to jump in the car and kind of give it a quiet nod, I think that's a quiet victory. I'll take that.
Yeah. Every time I get in your car, I think it edges me that little bit closer to being more accepting of 996s. Because I was very much, I suppose, fairly anti going back some ways, and just not very accepting of them, and kind of definitely turned a corner and starting to appreciate them more and like them more. And like you said, when you're sat behind the wheel, you don't see the front lights, you kind of get over that thing. And actually,
even those are becoming,
they're growing on me.
Like rear lights, I always
that.
thought they looked shit, but just the way the sort of line is of that rear light as it dips down a little bit, it looks really attractive, especially in ambers.
Yeah. I think an early amber light car is great looking car.
Yeah.
I tell you what, where we just said at the top of the podcast about following, it being weird to see your own car being driven. When the 996 was in front of me, I thought the mirrors looked massive. I never really realised. I mean, you call the G series mirrors elephant ears, but I mean, I think they are elephant ears because they're just like disproportionately big when looking from the back forwards at the car.
There might be an interesting little mod actually to come up with a new mirror setup that just brings those in a little bit, because that might give it a whole different look where it's something quite subtle people wouldn't necessarily spot first time round. But it might actually just give a real
definitely. I mean, even
look.
like looking at the Cayman, they seem so much more sleek.
Yeah,
and actually, they're more aerodynamically enhanced, where you've got that gap in the middle. It's technically speaking less drag. So, might pinch your mirrors, Joe. Have a little swap. But what a cracking trio! Cheers, guys, for letting us drive your
likewise
class this morning. That's absolutely bang on. So,
very kind.
Yeah, I tell you what, we should finish on is what car would you swap for in terms of? No, I'll tell you what, which car would you take home out of these three?
Out of the three?
Yeah. You'd go, are we all going to end up just saying our own?
I would take mine, yeah.
Joe?
If I had to pick one?
Yeah.
I don't know. I'll tell you what, I probably wouldn't take the Cayman home just because I like a bit of variety.
Really?
For the only reason. I mean, having spent some time in it, it's great. But I had a great time driving both the other two cars. I'd happily take the keys to either.
You can't sit on the fence.
Oh, for God's sake. I'd go 996.
Would you really? No, really? That really surprises me. Really surprises me. Yes, you don't mind the odd squeak and rattle.
I know, I do mind your squeak and rattle. I think I'd go 996. Didn't think I'd say that.
Yeah.
Interesting. Very interesting. Yeah.
So what would you? How about you?
I'd probably take my own car, but only I don't know. I would be so tempted to take the 993, but for me, I would, if it was a right-hand drive, I would consider it. But it's probably a mark of my own confidence in my driving abilities. I just wouldn't like to sit on the left so much. I just prefer to kind of see down the middle of the road. But that's kind of it, really. So if you wouldn't mind nudging the steering wheel over and replacing your tyres,
definitely he's doing.
Pump for the 993, I think. Yeah, very good. Cool. Well. We should get another tea and head off. In our own cars, I suppose.
Yeah, it's that time.
Yeah,
give them back.
Yeah, that's kind of it.
Yeah, cracking.
Excellent.
Nice one, fellas.
Job done.
Nice one.